France has gone crazy, folks. French President Macron has declared a state of emergency. He is declaring essentially martial law in Paris as well as numerous other cities around the country of France. It is definitely extremely tense. People have been attacking the police with firearms, with Molotov cocktails, and they've been getting a lot back from the police as well. There is extreme discontent. This is majority the Muslim population attacking police officers right now. This is not the yellow vest protests of before. This is something different. We're going to jump into that and talk about what's going on, as well as talking about some of the implications for us, both in the United States as well as in other countries as well. All right, folks, welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we go through the news stories that are not really being talked about out there by the mainstream press. We dig deep into things that the mainstream press doesn't want to dig into. And today we're going to be digging into what's going on in France. The protests there started on Tuesday when a Muslim youth was killed by the police. And so protests started up. Okay, understandable protests coming up for unjustifiable death. But then what happened next was what really is concerning, is that the protests turned violent. We're not talking about mostly peaceful. They were mostly violent. And we see a lot of buildings, hundreds and hundreds of buildings being burned. We see hundreds of cars being torched. We see, like I said, police being attacked with Molotov cocktails and firearms. There are numerous reports of police being killed by these attacks. Numerous people, protesters, have been also killed as well. So this is a very serious situation. Public transportation across the country has been shut down during certain hours. They don't want people moving around. Curfews have been put in place to keep people from wandering from home, and that's when the public transportation is shut down for those periods. And for you to understand what's going on here is you have to understand the unbridled allowance of immigrants into the country and the welcoming of immigrants into Paris. About 15% of the downtown metro area is Muslim populations now. 15% of Paris is Muslim. Yes, that's correct. And we're talking about 300,000 Muslims living in what they consider to be substandard, like they're second-class citizens. So they're brought into the society, but then they're kept down. They're treated like second-class citizens. The French looking down their nose not only at American tourists, but looking down their nose at Muslims who have come into the country, and they're treated. They're told they're not citizens. They're told that all the wonderful gushy things that liberals want to say to poor people, but then when it comes to actually being able to own businesses, when it comes to actually being able to get ahead and enter into society as equal partners, the answer to that is no. That is not being permitted. And so we're seeing just all this is coming to a forefront. If you want to see what illegal immigration looks like down the road, France is showing us what that looks like when it turns into race wars. And in the cities where there is a significant Muslim population, where they have enough critical mass, they are now setting up, we saw this in some of the Scandinavian countries as well, where they're setting up no-go zones, where people are not allowed to have French laws applied to them in certain areas because Muslim laws apply in those areas. We see enforcement of Muslim laws in certain zones, and now police are trying to control the city, and the Muslims are going after them to bring their own justice to the situation. So what will happen next? Will this continue to burn, or will this burn out? It'll probably burn out over time. Given the French and their hobby of protesting, it looks like the Muslims there have jumped on that and we like this, we're going to do this, we're going to protest too. So the yellow vests have been protesting, and the people protesting against all the pension reforms that have been coming out, those have been mostly peaceful, and I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that they've been generally peaceful. There have been incidents, isolated incidents, but not like going out in the streets at night and torching things type incidents, which is what we're seeing now, where we're seeing mass protests all night long and attacking the police and attacking civilians, and particularly going after government buildings. Public buildings are being firebombed and attacked that way. ATMs attacked, stores looted, of course, not just attacked, but ATMs, banks, stores to be looted. And then we also see some coordination between the different cities, that there seems to be much more organization to this. This isn't spontaneous, but rather, and in some of the regards, we're seeing that some of this is French activists that are instigating and helping the Muslims to get organized in this way, which is really kind of ironic. And it's turning into this race war, the government against the certain minority population of their country, and those people taken to the streets to attack. A lot of the immigrants that have come into France and Paris have been young males, military-age males, and so there is a lot of situations with that, especially considering that they're not being allowed to integrate into Parisian society and French society. It's harder for them to find women, and so you got a lot of single, angry males, military-age males, and so when you have a spark like this, you have this insane blow-up of upsetness and violence. So that's what's going on in Paris right now. They're deploying 40,000, I keep wanting to say troops, but there's technically police. But when you have 40,000 of them, that's like roughly the size of General Lee's army in the Civil War. So I mean, to call it an army is not really unfair. The police are there to put an end to these things, not to bring justice, not to investigate crimes, but rather brute force and standing to block people and to make bulk arrests and to basically do battle on the streets of Paris, as well as the dozens of cities around the country that are in flames even up till now. If you want more updates, you can go directly to the website, thepoplarreport.com. I keep that updated with more news stories as we go forward, more frequently than what you see here. But then also, if you want to make sure you're part of the newsletter, you can sign up there on that website as well. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.